Hello, disc golf fans, and welcome back to Running It with Nate Sexton. I'm your co-host, Jarett, and he is now the number seventh highest ranked player in the world, and our host, Mr. Nate Sexton. Nate, how are you, man?
Did I go up in ranking or something? It sounds like maybe I climbed a spot.
You,
Sweet. I
you
like
did.
that.
You did. Well, if you want to get honest, you're technically six, but there's now a tie at the top. Ricky and Paul are tied
Oh yeah.
at number one. So technically that puts you at seven, but realistically six in the slots if you count them both as a tie for one. Kind of
That
cool.
sounds just fine. But yeah, man, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well too. We had a great sunny day here in the Pacific Northwest. I got a brand new exercise bike, so I'm turning over a new leaf. Everything's good.
I already told you you don't need that exercise bike. Your legs are already so big. You watch you on TV. Your calves are the thing that always stick out to me. Um,
Well, you just working on strength, I guess.
I hear you. Well, Nate, on episode one, that was kind of the big debut. And episode two, we kind of had some big fun. But on episode three, I think that means it's time to go big sexy.
I do too, and I'm really excited about this. I mean, who else could we go to for our first guest other than my partner in crime, my bigger half, the 2016 United States champion, Jeremy Colling?
Jeremy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing I'm doing well. I've been trying to hold back laughter this whole time here, and Nate's ranking just staying at home all year long has somehow gone up. That's just like the PDJ ranking system. Somehow the less you play, the better you are according to the PDGA.
We're just
But
talking player ratings here. Is all we're just going off player ratings. But yeah,
oh,
man. I mean,
this isn't rankings. Oh,
no,
player
we're not dealing
ratings.
with rankings. We're just player
Well, we already
ratings.
knew that the best way to get your play rating up is to not play. So there you go. You figured it out.
I finally figured it out.
Listen, Jem,
um,
we don't make the rules. We just spread them around, man.
and I played as many tournaments this year almost as I did in 2020 or in 2019, and obviously my ranking stayed exactly the same. Like I've been somewhere in the middle of the 1020s for like the last, I think, since I started playing disc golf, like
That's not
the whole
bad.
time. No, it's not bad, but it's like it's less good now than it was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, you're right about that. They're coming up. The water's rising all around you.
1020 is the new 1007. I feel like. But I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. Just came off a really big win for me in Myrtle Beach this weekend, and feeling good about that. And playing more disc golf. The plan is to play more disc golf this off season. So I don't know. I feel good. I feel ready for Christmas, and I'm ready to be on this show, man. This is exciting. Nate's finally got a podcast.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to have you. This is great. This is great.
Long time coming.
Yeah, I think everybody's been waiting for this, and here we are with our first guest. To have you guys together is certainly something that I'm happy to be a part of. I think everybody knows that you guys are regarded as the ultimate power couple on the mic in disc golf, I'm just honored to be able to sit here and kind of be a fly on the wall to as you guys do what you do.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a crazy journey, and obviously, COVID, things get weird for everybody, but definitely, thanks to Joma's Pro and thanks to Germ and I both being willing to take the time out of our day to start that commentary thing, which like wasn't really a big deal back at the beginning. It was kind of more just like a
Yeah.
curiosity to see if we wanted to try it. But yeah, it's definitely led to a lot of fun and being able to kind of grow the Big Sexy brand and have no shortage of jokes that we've had about that and all the travels we've shared. It's definitely been a great ride.
It's hard to imagine. It started off as something so casual, like you said. It definitely testing the waters. I always felt like maybe one day when I was a kid that I would like to do commentary, but do sports broadcasting of some type. But I never really saw that as being like something that would really find a niche in disc golf. Like post-produced content was a thing, but it wasn't really like a big thing. And so, when we were dabbling into doing commentary, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, we had a great time. But as a brand grower, as like a power industry in the sport, definitely didn't have that kind of foresight. And what it's turned into has just been so instrumental in my career and what I think of disc golf and my future of disc golf. So having someone as talented and naturally gifted as Nate, neither one of us really having any communications education or formal communication education from college or anything like that is pretty amazing that we've been able to do something that people go to school for. You know, we just kind of just figured it out on our own and continuously getting better and better every year.
And just with the freedom that Jomas gives us to kind of make it goofy, and also like, I always feel like the best part about it is that, like, because we got pretty good at disc golfing, you can't really be wrong about anything. You know, it's like you have like this ultimate credibility where you're kind of like, yeah, you know, I say that's a tough putt, and it's like, you know, sure, somebody can get in the comments and say that's a sycamore, not a chinkapin, but like at the end of the day, it's a chinkapin.
Well, you can also make up trees. I think there were the Juxton pillars out there in San Francisco.
Absolutely. He who holds the mic has the power.
It's bizarre. Like so many things that, you know, like terms that we, you know, come up with or make up on the spot, like end up being the term that is used officially from here on out. You know, thrower has become a part of the disc golf dictionary. You know,
yeah.
It's not just Germanology anymore. It's in the official disc golf dictionary. This is a term. If someone throws a half roll or half throw,
yeah,
you know what that is, baby.
That's right. I think Germanology is probably in the disc golf dictionary at this point too.
Oh, it certainly is. And Germanology isn't just for misspoken words or made up words. It's also for misspoken phrases, which is that's probably my favorite thing to do. That is like almost intentional, but not entirely. You know, like I have so many expressions that are like so close, and I'm getting one word wrong. Like for instance, one of the things I used to say would be like 12 of one, half dozen of the other. You know, like that doesn't make any sense.
Probably my all-time favorite germism that
I know where this is going.
Yeah, and my wife loves it too, and we find ourselves mentioning it, I feel like, at least once a month. But it was when we were talking about disc golf and, like, you know, getting past the stereotype of like it only being hippies and all this stuff. And Germ very confidently just said, you know, disc golf has this astigmatism around it. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, maybe reading glasses could help. Or I can't remember what I said, but it was just a hilarious thing. And it, you know, it's true. It is like so close to just just saying stigma. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Things that like Jules and I are so perfect for one another, because without telling her that story, she made the same mistake. And I have told that story that she said it because I was so embarrassed to take any sort of credit for it.
Nice.
That, like I say, this is something funny that Jules does, but then I'll finish off by saying, you know, I said the same thing too. But yeah, it's so funny because we've both made the same mistake and we're both so close so many times and we're just barely off. But yeah, baby, that's Germanology. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I think everybody knows that you guys have a wonderful relationship, and it shows just in the first few minutes of this podcast when you guys are doing Joe Mess. Germ, tell me about the first time you met Nate Sexton.
Oh, I'll never forget it, man. Nate and I, you know, we're just a few months off in age, but like we come from the same generation of disc golfers, and we hadn't met for what I thought was quite a long time, considering I'd been on tour for a couple of years, and you know, Nate was like this really talented disc golfer that was kind of just playing more of the tournaments in the Northwest, and I was probably playing more tournaments in the Southeast, and you know, playing a few tour events here and there, and he was playing a few tour events here and there, but we just never quite met up. I heard nothing but great things about the personality of Nate Sexton and how good of friends we would be. And finally, that fateful day that we finally met up was at the 2010 World Championships in Crown Point, Indiana. And we actually played 2 rounds that tournament. And I was going back through my pictures on Facebook recently. I don't know what the reason was, or maybe I was going through my phone or something, but I actually found a picture where somebody was taking a shot of Nate throwing a sidearm, and I was right there behind him, and I recognized the course as being the one from Crown Point, Indiana, and I recognized, oh my gosh, this is a picture from the, like, literally the round that Nate and I met. And I just remember thinking that's actually a really cool picture for reasons that we would have never known at the time. But yeah, I remembered how much fun we had playing with one another, and how similar our games were, being forehand dominant, and pretty good putters, but really good scramblers, and backhand was something that we could definitely use, but definitely the forehand dominant thing was like a cool thing for a player like myself who was coming up in an age where forehand was not, I don't want to say shunned, but it was definitely like pretty rare to see somebody go forehand dominant and be competitive. So it was yeah, I'll never forget that. That was in the summer of 2010.
I definitely remember it. Definitely remember playing both of the rounds together. And I don't think you think you beat me. I don't think we played that. Neither one of us really played that great, but I mean, maybe in 2010 we weren't feeling that sad about it because we were still kind of new, or a little
Top 20,
newer.
I think we got top 20.
I guess I was pretty good in 2009, so I probably was mad. I was probably coming in there thinking I was gonna light the world on fire.
You got what, fifth, or you got sixth place in 2009, right?
Fifth.
Yeah, so I mean, of course you're not happy about it, but
I guess I probably wasn't. I was trying to pretend that maybe I was, but here's another memory I need to get your take on, because what year was it, or do you know, when we were having the putting contest at the USDGC in a bar, and I think Kyle Crabtree was putting.
Oh yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Do you know what year that was? Was that before we had really met? I feel like it was.
That was 2008. That was my very first USDGC, and that was when we had the Guardians of the Disc Golf Basket, and that was the putting contest, and that was the bar. I forget the name of the bar, but it's like right down the street from the USDGC, and I believe it was myself, Nick Schneider, Jay Redding. I don't think Paul Oman was quite in the scene yet, but it was every single guy that we could find that was 6'4" or above, standing in front of a basket that was sitting on top of a table in the bar, and our heads just barely cleared the top of the basket. So like if someone was trying to make the putt, they literally had to go over our heads. Is this what you're talking about?
Yes, because I had a pretty good memory of that, just like popping into my head, thinking back to like first awareness of you. I mean, I remember being aware of you too when you won the Amateur World Championships, obviously, because I was there for that. But then I remember being there and watching that putting contest and kind of thinking like, who is this guy? He's just up there hogging the spotlight, as all these people are trying to putt. And I was thinking, oh, this guy's pretty obnoxious, just like big, tall guy being loud, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just funny to think back, judging somebody's character, how like sometimes you can be so off and not know who somebody ends up being. And like sometimes like that time you can be dead on. And just from the right first moment, you know kind of exactly who you're dealing with.
Oh, I'm so glad you beat me to the joke, because I was going to say the same thing. I was going to... My direction would have been, if you just stay the same way for 15 years, eventually people get used to you enough to like you.
Yeah, it totally worked. No, I mean, that's the totally legit thing. When you first meet somebody, you first see somebody, you can jump to all kinds of conclusions, but you give them a real chance and start to meet them. And obviously, I don't think there was ever a time after we actually met each other where I was like, oh gosh, so annoying. It's always been friends since then.
I don't know if I would have been great friends with Jeremy Colling from 2008. Like, I think I would have found him quite obnoxious too. So to your credit, that's a pretty fair assumption for a first impression. I mean,
well, that's all right. I mean, everybody grows up. I mean, I think I was probably kind of annoying too in my younger days at times, but yeah, I definitely have that memory. I'm pretty sure you're wearing a UNC hat, which isn't rare, but I feel like I remember a light blue hat. I remember you just kind of poking up. Popping in there.
No. Okay. Yeah. If it was a light blue hat, it must have been UNC, because if it was at USDGC, I would have already been sponsored by Discraft. The only reason I say that is because I did have a light blue Innova hat that I wore everywhere. And that thing was like pretty much like light blue brown by the time I was done wearing it. But that was a very common hat to see me in, because I could not afford hats back then. And when I got my hands on one, I wore it until it was just all rags. But
And
yeah,
now look at you, man. You're. I've never met a man with
hundreds,
more hats.
hundreds of hats, my
It
friend.
looks like we made it, baby.
Hey, Mom, I made it. Look.
That was like your big thing. You know what? I'm buying hats now. I couldn't have them before.
Dude,
now I'm gonna have every hat I want.
I will tell you, the year that Prodigy became a thing where players were getting paid, and let me tell you, we were getting paid, baby. I would say $100 a month, $1,000 a month. You know, a $12,000 salary. That's a big salary for a disc golfer in
Back
2013. But yeah, I mean, like, I was so broke that actually was like a huge chunk of change for me. And that year, Garrett Gerthy and I went on tour, and I will be damned if we didn't stop at every single like Zoomies or PacSun or any store that sold like a Hurley hat or a Ruka hat or any like that surfing like lifestyle brand, because I thought it was so cool. And I was just buying like $25 hats like it was nothing. And I felt so good that I could afford it. It was like the first time in my life I had some sort of what I felt like was financial freedom. And that was when the hat collection really started to amount.
And if you ever wonder, if you ever see Jerm and you think, man, this guy's looking too good. I know he flew here. How is he doing that? He has a case that keeps the flat bills flat. He puts them in a case, and those flat bills are pristine when he hops off the plane. It doesn't matter what kind of tired, overworked luggage handler gets a hold of his stuff. Those hats are, they're ironclad. They're protected.
And if any of them get damaged, I just have a set of 5 new hats waiting for me in any city that I go to.
Smart.
At the airport.
That is smart.
Keep a locker.
Fresh hats on ice. I like it.
Oh my gosh, that's so stupid.
Nate, did you have a guilty pleasure after you started making some of that money? Jerm said he was out buying hats. What was your guilty pleasure?
Boy, oh boy. Man, it wasn't hats. It's never been hats for me.
Well, you've got great hair. Like, you have nothing to hide.
I have big hair. I don't know if great is the word I would use. But
I just sent you a video off of YouTube, that 2010 hair, boy.
Oh yeah.
Anybody who's got a balding or a high hairline type deal like I do, here's somebody like you say, I don't have great hair, and I just want to take your hair off your head and put it on my head. And then I want to take my hair and put it on your head and hear you say that, because then maybe your perspective changes a bit.
Okay, I have
roll credits. It can't get any better.
I have far better hair than you. I'm just trying to draw a line between great. I'm not trying to say my hair isn't immensely better than yours. I'm just saying it might not be great.
None of us have Robert McCall hair, but fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, that is some super stuff.
Juan Garcia hair.
Oh, Juan Garcia just rolling out of bed looking like $1 million every day. What does that feel like, my friend?
What are we doing here?
We're chatting.
We're just talking hair.
This has gotten a little hairy. So Nate, don't sneak away. What's your guilty pleasure? Was it Pokemon cards? What were you studying?
I'm not trying to hide it. I don't know. If Jerm, call me out. What am I just spending money on?
Stocks. I don't know.
Stocks.
Like his way of spending money is making more money with his money. Like mine is like, how can I lose this quickly?
Now that I'm a family man, I'm getting a lot of Carter's, Cat and Jack, toddler brand clothes. I'm paying some cash for that kind of stuff.
I can't see you splurging on anything.
Well, this exercise bike is a freaking splurge. I just got this thing, and it's a serious piece of equipment.
That's years after the NFL money started rolling in. I'm talking like everybody, when they start getting money for the first time. Not to say everybody, but most people, when they finally are like, hey, I can afford to do this now. I never could before. Like, does that thing. And I can't think of what yours might have been.
Lately at least, I've been doing a irresponsible amount of Uber Eats.
Well, that is responsible in an irresponsible way.
It's a
I mean,
splurge
like,
because I'm paying
you're
all
not
kinds
going
of fees.
out.
No, I'm not.
I guess.
I'm definitely not going out. I haven't been in a restaurant in a year, I feel like.
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
I'm definitely hitting that Uber Eats pretty hard, harder than I should be.
It happens. It happens so fast with the Uber Eats. You look and you're like, "Oh, that meal's $6, great." And next thing you know, it's
Oh, I
like
know.
you're 21.40 your total, and I'm just like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
I
I just
didn't.
got a Thai tea. What the heck?
The less you buy, the worse the more you feel it too. Because like if it's a small order, you're like, oh, it's just a couple bucks, and then it is literally $21 every time. It's a little bit more palatable when you're like, but then you got to leave kind of a big tip. But I mean, that's cool. Those drivers are putting in the work, so I'm always down to leave a tip.
They love when they see that Sexton name pop up. They know that
Oh
they're
yeah,
getting some of
that
that
guy's
Innova
got that
money.
Innova money.
That's a
For
T-shirt
sure.
right there. Innova money. Someone write that down.
It's a t-shirt for a select few for sure.
So, Germ, I guess, well, this is for both of you guys. One of the questions that came in so much is, and you guys started to talk about it a little bit, how did Big Sexy come together? Did you guys decide you wanted to do it? Did Jomez approach one of you first and you said, I want to do it with the other? What what was the origin?
We're lucky we have
Uh,
Germ here because I feel like he has a pretty good memory for this kind of stuff. I
yeah.
know that I did it before he did it. Like,
Yes.
because I did it with Paul Macbeth and I did, some commentary work with Central Coast. But I'm going to let him take the ball here because I bet you he has a better recollection of how it actually went down than I do.
Yeah, I feel like I do too. It means a lot to me. So yeah, Nate was right. He started first working with Macbeth, and I don't think you worked with anyone else.
That's
Am I
that's
right?
probably true, at least not on Jomez.
Yeah, yeah. So like you were doing a lot of stuff with Central Coast, and you still continued to do the champs versus chumps.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess. I mean, I still
Kinda.
do that now. I don't know when I started doing that. Probably before
But
Big Sexy.
but yeah, you were kind of like this freelance commentator that was, kind of just doing it. I don't want to say casually because it was something you were doing quite a bit, but it,
Yeah, I
you
was
know,
starting to make a name for myself for that being something that I was decent at and willing to do.
exactly. And you could kind of tell like when someone starts doing commentary whether they understand the timing of it, the pace and all that. And some people get it and some people don't. And Nate very clearly early on got it. And I had started at the Waco tournament in 2017, and when I say started, I mean started with Jomez. I had done some things again with Central Coast, and then maybe for another production company as well. But it was very, very little commentary history for me. But it was something that I definitely wanted to get my feet wet with. And so when I started working with Jomez, I worked with Simon and Eagle collectively the first time, and then we realized that was just too many people on one microphone. So we started doing two-person sets, kind of like they had done with Nate and Macbeth, and and I just worked with a myriad of people. I worked with Greg Barsby, Simon quite a bit, and then Simon had decided that he didn't want to do it anymore, so we had to find different replacements for him. I worked with James Conrad a few times, Chris Dickerson, which ended up being a complete fail, which was hilarious because Chris is a very funny human being, but he is not a very good commentator. And he will tell you that himself. He brings it up sometimes in conversation, like, is it as bad as that one time I did commentary? Like he totally understands that that is not his role, which is fine because he's an excellent player and he serves a great role as that. But anyhow, we were just kind of trying to find some sort of I guess when Jonas was looking for a team that clicked and a team that was consistent and reliable. And when Nate and I finally met up at the Nick Hyde in 2017, there was proverbial fireworks in the air, I guess you could say. It was good flow. It was funny, and more so, better than anyone else, Nate was able to kind of take my silliness and wrangle it in and make something of it. And that took an extra level of talent that not any of the other people I'd worked with had the capability, talent, or honestly, it's intelligence. Like it is a wittiness that that Nate has to him, and also an understanding of my humor to like get my jokes, and also be so quick that he could take something that maybe I'm going off into nothing land, and he can find a way to bring me back. But then also sometimes when I'm going off on a tangent, it ends up leading somewhere, and then we turn that into a joke. Like the whole juice bit that we had at GBO turned into an excellent thing about the slight brimming of the carafe, and like talking about having enough juice left in the tank, and like what that means, and like that kind of stuff takes like a really strong hold on your counterpart's commentary. And so it was very clear early on that the Big Sexy team, which didn't really, actually that name was pretty much there from the beginning, wasn't it?
I think so. I think we uttered it right away
Yeah.
at Nick Hyde. I mean, it was pretty obvious. It was an easy nickname to come up with.
So the name clicked, the team clicked. I had a lot of growing to do to improve my craft, but it over time, like I think it just became clear that like if there was going to be a voice for the sport of disc golf, who better than Nate Sexton and Jeremy Cullen. And we went with it, we rolled with it, and we made it pretty much all 2018. Like we were like, all right, we're going to go for it. And then 2019 we had our setbacks with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Those got resolved mid-season, but we still haven't really like hit our stride as far as I think our potential. I think like if 2021 settles down with this whole COVID business and we can get Nate Sexton back on tour, I think that we might have a good chance to really hit our best product.
And I think first of all, you're too kind, because I had plenty of learning and growing to do too. I mean, you make it sound like I was just coming in here so polished, but I don't recollect it that way. I think we both kind of evolved, and I'm sure
Sure.
You've helped me and I've helped you, and the whole thing has been a cool experience to grow. But also the other thing I want to say is like with 2021, we're going to be stronger than ever, because now we got Yuli in the fold, and however that ends up working out, obviously I don't play every tournament, so there's going to be plenty of Big Barry out there, and I don't know if we'll ever try 3 or what we'll do. I mean, we'll leave that up to the professionals over at Jomas Pro, but Yuli's committed, he's involved, and we've all been good friends for a long time. So I'm super excited. Not only am I just jonesing to get back out there and play,
Sure.
get rid of this COVID stuff, but just get back in the booth and working with you guys. It's going to be awesome.
Jerem, do you kind of feel like it's like in Castaway when she gets remarried and then her other partner comes back after he gets off the island, and you're just kind of torn because you love them both
You have
so
to ask
much,
Nate
and you
that.
just don't know what to do?
No, Nate's the Tom Hanks in this situation.
You're remarried. I'm coming back. I've been gone.
So yeah, okay. So I am.
You're the wife.
My gosh. Yeah, no, I know, but oh my gosh, oh, come on, Jeremy. She played in Contact. Why can I not remember her name? Anyhow, that's embarrassing. Yeah, I am her. I've been remarried. I waited,
Yeah.
I have. I've been patient. I gave Nate plenty of chances to be irresponsible and go back on tour, but he decided that he was going to stay on his island. And
you found love.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Disc golf fans are fiercely loyal until you're gone for a month. Then they're not anymore. I'd like for them to prove me wrong, but like I just seem like it feels like I heard so many. I mean, for a while there is like the comments were, Paul's great, but where's Nate? And that comment was at least posted 10 times on every video for the first like 3 months of coming back on tour. Then it started being like, I think Paul's better than Nate. And I was just like, dude, it's not a matter of better or worse. Like Paul's a completely different style. So like you might like Paul for his style, but like, let's be fair. You've called Nate the best in the business for years. Just because he's not here doesn't mean that he's not like going to kick butt when he gets back in the booth. Like, let's not forget that he's, the favorite commentator by 19 votes for a reason.
Yeah,
Oh
Nate,
man,
when are you sending my check for those 20 votes I sent in?
it's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Dude, how crazy is how close that came down to, like, the last hour. It's just
Yeah,
insane. The last
that was
minute.
funny. Just like a random poll too. That guy's going hard on the polls. That Robbie guy
Yeah,
who has that disc golf account on Instagram doing all these different things. It's kind of cool.
to get that many people voting, I mean, that's like 3,500 votes for, and that's not just on the last day. I mean, every single day he had different battles going on, and to have that much engagement, that's pretty cool that he's been able to build his page pretty much solely on that premise. I mean, I don't know what else he's posting, honestly, but but yeah, to have that much engagement and interaction with something like that's pretty cool. I mean, it probably didn't hurt that much that you and I were sharing that every single day, because I didn't share one single post about the best sidearm bracket that he held, and and I should have. I mean, that's important to me to be recognized as such, and winning it was cool. Like Eagle even said, I guess it was Eagle and I in the finals, and Eagle said, I've got the power, but Germ does things that I can't do, and like that meant a lot to me to say that. But
Yeah.
honestly, when it came down to it, the disc golf commentary, the best commentator one, meant way more to me. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I wonder how this is going to shape up. And seeing you and I in the finals was like, okay, I am tired of the 60% of big sexy business that Nate keeps saying. Like, I'm curious how many people are going to vote and how close it might actually be. And I was pleasantly surprised to see how close it ended up being. I mean, 50-50.
I was absolutely shocked. But but no, honestly though, that tells you, that shows that you've been honing your craft, because I feel like
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been
a year ago.
50-50 a year ago.
No, not a
And
chance.
that's fine,
Not a
and
chance.
it's like, I've been gone, so it's like that only makes sense that I would be slipping down the rankings. But definitely inspired me to, write a little battle rap, which I feel like 99% of people thought was pretty funny, and 1% of people got super pissed about, which I didn't really see coming. But yeah, as I tried to say and make very clear, it was an all love thing, and I sent it to you and Paul before I posted it, so we could all laugh about it beforehand. But whatever, just goofing
great.
around and doing some rhymes, because occasionally I am prone to a rhyme.
You are definitely prone to throw it down, and I think people should expect that from you. And if they ever get upset about it, then they just don't know how silly you are, and that's on them.
That has been a pet peeve of mine. People don't know how silly I am, because I'm thrown in this CBS ESPN box in 2020, in this era of ever expanding disc golf media consumption.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I gotta drive the ship on these network things, and they're asking for a different style, and that's fine, and I'm happy to do that style, but that's not Big Sexy style exactly. And then I see some comments that are like, oh gosh, I mean, Nate is just so vanilla, and I'm like, dude, get back in there, see some of the old stuff, like that's not what we do exactly. That's what we had to do to be palatable for like your grandma, or somebody's grandma that doesn't even know what disc golf is, and we can try to hopefully expose the sport to a wider audience. But definitely cannot wait to do a practice round with Yuli and Germ mic'd up. That just looks like you guys are that is, I cannot believe we haven't been doing that the whole time. Like, you guys are killing it in those. They're so funny.
It is.
You guys almost came to blows.
Yeah. Oh, well, are you talking about at Maple Hill?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you threatened to put hands on Paul during that round.
I mean, that's just a regular day with Yuli and Germ. I mean, that's an everyday thing.
Nothing new there. I did the whole gazelle bit actually started because I almost hit his Achilles heel with my disc golf cart, and with my push cart, and it was like kind of this moment of like, if you go back and watch it, we are walking down the fairway just after we teed off on hole 6, and I almost clip his heel, and like it's kind of a moment of about 20 to 30 seconds of like kind of awkwardness, because he kind of snaps at me, and then I'm just kind of like trying to diffuse the situation and just go back to being funny. And it like kind of got weird for a second. And that's when like I think he realized, okay, well, we got to do the practice round and be silly thing. And then he said that it looked like a gazelle because of my outfit. And then I was like just blown away by it. And I was like, wait, are you talking about my shirt? Like the one with all these toucans on it?
I couldn't even believe what I was watching as that was happening.
Ridiculous. And this is okay. So little interactions like this, like that one specifically, that turned into a thing, right? That turned into a meme, that turned into a whole thing where the entire disc golf media, like Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, Twitter, they're just lighting up about the gazelle. And to the point where Jomez was like, we got to do something with this. So we just sketched up a design for a shirt really quick. And they sold like 1,000 of these things, like pre-sale, like didn't even have to make like any sort of risk or commitment to it. It's just like, hey, who wants these? And 1,000 people, like in a matter of like 2 days, were like, I do. And it just blows my mind at the power of numbers of fans that we have, and in the numbers of just committed followers that are willing to like be a part of an inside joke by wearing a t-shirt, you know.
The Jomez fans do not mess around. Jomez has some of
incredible
the best fans I've ever encountered, just in terms of how loyal and how much the Patreon has grown, and just how many people are 100% consumers of everything that Jomez puts out, and they're just there, you know, every time, and like they're just hardcore. It's cool.
Without that, I don't know if I could confidently say that I'd know what I would be doing in like 5 years as far as disc golf goes.
Yeah.
You know, like because of these people, because of these amazing fans and this incredible engagement that you know, Juan has with the social media account, with the Instagram, who's just absolutely killing it. Like grown the Instagram page to over 111,000 followers, and I mean, like in just record time for disc golfers. Like,
wait, are you talking about Juan? Are you talking about Juan with the good hair?
Yeah, Juan with the good hair. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm on the page with you.
That one. So yeah, I mean, it's that kind of loyalty and that kind of interaction, and the amount of attention that it brings us is like, that gives me all the confidence in the world that we continue keeping the course here. We continue to grow with the brand, that there's a future in it for us. And that's a pretty amazing thing to have a little bit of a sunshine, you know, in the future.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. That's all I can really say. It's going to be exciting. Everything, disc golf is in such an exciting place right now, and I just didn't see it coming. It snuck up on me. This whole ESPN thing happening and all this progress all of a sudden, I just didn't expect it. So it's like, you know, for somebody who's been around as long as me, to see this kind of uptick, I mean, it's just an exciting time to be involved in disc golf.
Are you now familiar with what a gazelle actually is, Jerm?
Well, it wasn't me.
He always was. He always was.
It was Ulibarri who had that deep confusion. I think he was confusing a gazelle for a Pegasus, based on his description of a sheep-looking, horse-looking thing with wings. That was a herd.
Yeah.
I've got to imagine he was in his head for some reason thinking Pegasus, but
he'll never tell us.
The way that he looked at
Well, that's what I was getting at. I was hoping maybe he filled you in on what he was actually talking about, of what a gazelle actually is at this point, because I'm still not sure what he thought, what he was thinking. Pegasus.
I've pressed the issue. I've definitely tried to like get into the mind of Ulibarri probably more times than I should, to try to figure out what's going on up there. And I specifically that one, and I've asked him like, hey, like, were you talking about a Pegasus? And he's like, dude, I don't know what I thought I was talking about. Like, he was so bewildered was where he was and what he was saying, that he just went for it. And it turned out to be absolute gold. Like, it was just wonderful.
It was so funny. I must have watched it 15 times.
I've seen it. I've showed so many people, and it's like, it's amazing holding the phone and like, just I'm watching them and they're watching the screen, and I'm just watching this moment of like them seeing this for the first time. It's like, it's gold. It's just
Yeah.
absolute pure gold. It's so good.
I'm guessing Yuli's showing it to less people.
No, I don't think he's embarrassed about that stuff. Paul is one of the funniest human beings. I think Nate will attest to this. Like,
Yes.
Paul is one of the most enjoyable people to be around. I just he can laugh at himself better than almost anyone else. And so
You're right about that.
He
He's so
he knows
good at
what
that.
he doesn't know. Like he is willing to poke fun at himself if he knows that he's not well versed on a certain topic, such as like common birds or common African mammals. Like gazelles. Yeah, I was trying to say African Serengeti
Bird looking.
Or yeah, it's just
bird looking sheep. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I can't. That's so stupid. Oh,
Bird-looking sheep. You can't buy that kind of entertainment. Now, Nate, you talked a little bit about having to put a little freestyle down, and how every once in a while you'll have to drop some bars just to get them off because you can't hold them in. Jerm, you were kind of there as the introduction of Nate's poetry on the other side of his rap. He's got a little softer side. How? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we are talking about the Why Are Trees poem, I would guess, and that goes to a very dark place in Nate and I's conscious, and that is W.R. Jackson in Appleton, Georgia.
Yes,
that is a place that Nate and I have never played well at, and we get frustrated by very similar things sometimes on the disc golf course, seeing that our game is predicated on the same strengths and sometimes the same weaknesses, and that course is not friendly for right-handed sidearm players. However, somehow every year the really good lefties seem to do well there. I haven't been able to figure that out, but anyhow, that place is when I look at each individual hole, I don't necessarily think that there are any bad holes. I think that there are many really great holes, and somehow when you put all of them together, it ends up frustrating the absolute crap out of both Nate and I. Like, it just like gets under our skin and it defeats us. And Nate, who has a very well publicized cashing streak going on in disc golf, has somehow been put to the test many times at W.R. Jackson. That being said, the poetry kind of came out of a place of necessity, because everything else that was left there was just frustration and anger, I think, on Nate and I's end, towards how we were playing in the tournament, how defeated we are, or just hitting trees constantly. And anyone who's ever played W.R. Jackson understands that. I mean, that's a tough course, and it can get a bit exhausting hitting tree after tree after tree. And somehow, at some point in the commentary, Nate just wanted to kind of let off some frustration in the most diplomatic way possible. And he just simply said, "Why are trees?" And it was just such a great line that it needed more, and people wanted more because it resonated with so many people. Hey, yeah, why are trees? Those are stupid. Like, trees can be so dumb, right?
Yeah, really.
And so, Nate is no stranger to writing poetry. That was Why Are Trees is probably the first time that we've seen it on the grand scale. But Nate's actually pulled out some of the dandies that he's written in the past, and he's no slouch, man. He's got some writing chops.
I think the thing that comes to my mind that I feel like we need to invent, if it hasn't already been invented, like you said, how it's got a lot of great holes, but it just adds up to a frustrating place. And it makes me think about how, you can give a compliment to a group of people or a course or something and say it's more than the sum of its parts. But is there an opposite for that, where you can be like, W.R. Jackson is way less than the sum of its parts? I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that. It's just less than the sum of its parts. I'm not complaining about anything in particular. I'm just saying, as a whole, it stinks.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't actually stink. Yeah, but it's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen you break character, and that's something that you've done a fantastic job of composing yourself,
Yeah.
for the most part. And when you lose your frustration, I mean, when you lose your temper, when I say temper,
Yeah.
I mean like you say "darn it" a bunch. But when you get to that point and you're saying "darn it" like in succession of like 4 or 5
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
we know that Nate's kind of gone over the deep end.
Yep.
But I mean, like you've said some things and done some things that you felt a little embarrassed about, if you don't mind me saying
Absolutely.
that.
No, absolutely.
And
It's
and
true. It's true. I've lost my cool out there, and more than once.
and
And it was
and
the
it's like,
poetry came from a place of sorrow for sure.
and it's true. It's like there's something that's real, that that is him really talking about how freaking frustrating that place can be, but finding like that Nate Sexton way of making it like relatable and funny, which is something that I think that's what makes him so popular with the fans, is that there's a way of saying something in a funny way, but in a way that you might not word it, but represents all the feelings that you have on the same subject.
Oh God, I got 150 emails about that poem in particular. Germ, last week Nate shared with us that he started out with a disc in his hand and he would go camping with his family and there was a tree that they would aim for and throw the disc at it. So he actually started out aiming for trees. So don't let him fool you.
That's actually the same way I started as well in college with ultimate frisbees. So we got that in common.
Yep.
Yeah, it's how my disc golf career started out too, but I'm not aiming for the trees. I'm just hitting them.
Career is a strong word, Jarett.
Yeah, it's a very strong word, especially since I'm down like $36 on the course this year. But that's okay because we're gonna get you to Buffalo. You're gonna beat Anthony in that grudge match, and you're gonna make it all
All
back
right.
for me.
All right, I can do that.
No, this is a funny time to bring up a friend of mine that I met here actually playing out in Buffalo. A guy named Eric, who is the founder of a company actually called Tree Direction. And what they do, Nate, is they work with disc golf and the environment both. It's kind of a cool thing that he's doing, basically spreading awareness on the impact of the sport in the forests. And they go out, they plant trees, and they're doing a lot of big things for disc golf. And he's a local Buffalo guy here. If you guys want to check him out and see what they have going on, they're at Tree Direction _ disc golf. And I know it's a cool thing to be doing for the environment, but maybe not something that you guys like too much, seeing all these trees keep popping up on these courses.
No, it's great what he's doing for sure.
No, it is. I'm gonna give him a follow right after this episode.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, guys, anyone out there, check them out. They're opening up an online store, Tree Direction, discgolf.com, and they've got some hoodies and stuff. But basically, they're doing everything towards the environment and to help out, make sure these disc golf courses look great and planting trees out there. So, just kind of a cool thing that he's doing. And wanted to thank him for supporting the show and for giving us follows and shares. And hopefully, the listeners will do the same for him.
Sweet.
And Nate, I think it's about time for us to do another disc review.
Yeah, I like that idea, and it really is a pretty easy choice here. We got the big man here. We got to go with the Thunderbird and the BigJerm Thunderbird
Ooh.
specifically because that's a disc that I rely heavily on, and obviously he endorses and uses all the time. So let's hear it straight from the man. Like, what's the deal with these BigJerm Thunderbirds? What do you love about them? Tell us it all.
Oh, I am honored. First off, thank you for giving me a platform to talk about my sweet disc. Yeah, so joined the Innova Star team in 2017, and when they gave me the option to pick a disc, a mold, and a plastic, it seemed pretty clear to me that Thunderbird was one of my favorite molds. That Prodigy didn't have anything that could fly like that at the time, and I always envied that disc. And that nobody in the Star team had that disc currently was like mind-blowing to me. I guess the one thing that was kind of holding people back was that the flight was somewhat similar to a Firebird, and you already had pretty well marketed the Nate Sexton Firebird at that point. So but I was pumped because I love the Thunderbird, and I said, you know what, we're going for it because it's a great disc, and I can definitely sing the praises of this disc to the masses, and hopefully people will try it out if they haven't yet. So the Thunderbird, essentially, what Innova was trying to do and successfully managed to create was a disc that kind of flew like a high-speed destroyer um, that went the distance of a high-speed driver, but at the stability and the controllability of a kind of a slower speed fairway driver like a T-Bird. Um, I found in early field testing that I was getting very similar distance with my Thunderbird as I was with my destroyers and my wraiths, and yet I was necessitating a much narrower line, and so I would be able to get big distance down fairways um, without requiring a bunch of left to right space to try to flip and turn and get all that extra action. And in many cases, I was actually out driving my destroyers, which were getting the full flex just in a wide open field. And I was just like kind of blown away by that. I couldn't really figure it out. Because the disc is only a 9-speed, I think I should know this. Goodness gracious. I'm not sure what end of a scale.
I feel like it might be a 10, but it's either a 9 or a 10.
Yeah. It's either a 9 or a 10, but it ends up getting the distance of like those 11 or 12s, like with no problem, it seems like. And then I was able to really figure out its nuances in the short range game as well. And so I was able to kind of work it in while using the Sexton Firebird a bunch. I was also able to find little gaps in stability that I liked it for like 285-foot shots. And so now it wasn't just like this disc that I was throwing for 400-foot straight shots or 400-foot hyzers. Now I was throwing like little touch shots with it that needed a little bit of skip or maybe go a little bit straighter than the Sexton Firebird. And I chose the Swirly Star plastic because it's just the prettiest plastic, and I knew it had a great feel to it. And they had only done one run of Swirly Star Thunderbirds prior to the BigJerm Thunderbirds, so I knew that there was kind of a market out there for people like wanting more of them. And I figured if there was ever a way to kind of like corner that market, might as well put my name on that and make it mine. And so far, it's been pretty amazingly successful. And,
yeah, I love them. I carry 2 of them. I use it for a lot of the same things you do. I don't really throw it forehand that much. I tend to kind of like to keep my forehand and backhand separate a lot of times. So like the Firebirds will take all the forehands, but then if it's a similar shot with the backhand, I'm reaching for that Thunderbird. I use it a lot for like power rollers as well, hyzers, like everything anything that's like not a maximum distance shot, I'm going to the Thunderbird. So it's one of my favorites.
The one thing that I can say, like, if there's any testament of how good the disc is, it's how much players like top players like obviously Sexton just said that he loves it, but Calvin Heimberg loves the disc so much that this is true. He has literally lost 15 of them. I think of the last disc mold that you've lost 15 of, Nate.
I don't know that I have one. I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
that
I don't
lost
know if
15
I
of
don't
anything.
He has lost, not just used. He has lost 15 of them. We were actually supposed to throw him a party when he lost his 15th because that was supposed to be some sort of big number or something. But yeah, it's he actually took the disc out of his bag after his 15th loss because he couldn't get it replaced enough because he kept throwing it in all these situations that like were like big shots that he needed that disc. And like he would like lose it in the field, leave it behind, throw it in the water. Like I know it sounds kind of weird to advertise that you can lose the disc a bunch, but it's for him to lose it so much.
Honestly,
and then continue
you can't
to come back to it.
You can't lose it that much. Calvin throws insanely far. Our listeners are not Calvin. You don't have anything to worry about. I'm throwing these things all over the place. I don't know if I've ever lost one, but I'm not throwing it 995 feet either.
I'm just checking eBay here, and there's a C. Heimberg that has 14 Coling Thunderbirds for sale, so I don't know if you should fall for that, losing 15.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, yeah, it's a versatile disc, which is something that makes it really, really great for me. Like Nate saying that he's throwing it for power rollers. Some of the rollers I've seen Nate throw with a Thunderbird are just like blow my mind. I mean, he's getting the disc down early, and I'm kind of thinking like, okay, that's going to cut left. It's not going to keep going. but the thing just keeps trucking. I mean, it just works its way down the fairway. And if you get it down right, I don't know if there's a disc that rolls farther. I've actually used it quite a bit for my forehand rollers. And, I don't use it for any overhands, but I mean, it's pretty much useful for every other type of shot I can think of.
Get one. Definitely get one.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. It's a good disc. If you haven't tried it, you should try it at least once, and then maybe 15 times more.
Or at least maybe 15 different colors or designs, and bag them and keep them. Now, I know that you guys are lucky enough to be sponsored by Innova, and I'm sure they just send you all sorts of goodies and discs to use and play. But for our listeners who are not so fortunate, I can send you guys over to FisherDiscGolf.com. Jerm, Fisher Disc Golf is one of our sponsors here. Nate and I have been talking about them the last few weeks. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to check them out, but I recommend that you do on Tuesdays and Friday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. They do what's called their mystery stacks, and they go live on Facebook, and now they're doing it on YouTube as well at Fisher Disc Golf, and they actually stack these discs up on the table. So they'll have 3 big stacks of discs, and you could purchase what they call pulls. So you want to pull 1 disc or 3 discs or 5 discs, and then you say, I'll take A7 and B4, and then they'll pull out the 7th disc from that first stack, the 4th disc from that second stack, and they show you live right on the feed what disc you actually purchased. So it's kind of a game of risk, but it's always some awesome plastic that they're giving away. They do little chasers where they put special prizes on the back there. So you should stop in there one of these nights, Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 at Fisher Disc Golf on Facebook and Instagram. These guys are local guys, Levi and Adam from Michigan. They've been huge supporters of our show, and you can also hop over to FisherDiscGolf.com. They've got 18 different disc brands there, baskets, apparel, and they've given us a little thank you for our listeners, right, Nate?
Yeah, we got that code RUNIT10 at Fisher Disc Golf. Is going to get you 10% off your first order. If you get lucky, maybe they got some BigJerm Thunderbirds in stock. Get a sweet deal.
Yeah, absolutely. They're awesome, and they've been a huge sponsor. We thank them for everything that they've been doing for us here at Running It with Nate Sexton. Now, we are going to introduce for the first time a segment that I am really looking forward to, and this is a segment that we're going to call You or Nate, and we're going to ask them some questions, and Jerm, you're just going to answer who's more likely. Is it you or Nate?
A couple fun topics for us to debate. It's time to play It's You or Nate.
All right. So, you ready to play, Jerm?
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. Jerm, you or Nate, shorter temper?
Oh, me. Oh, me.
Better dressed on the course, you or Nate?
Oh, me. Oh, me. I mean, come on. Put me against anyone in the dang field. I'm trying to think who could compete. No one. I can't think of anyone.
No argument so far.
Maybe if we got Steve Harvey out there to play some rounds, he might come with
I was trying to think of some like NBA players who have some mad steez. I get outdressed by the NBA players, but on the disc golf course, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a rival yet. Maybe one day soon.
Better spike ball player?
Nate for consistency, me for the big play when you need it.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. More likely to break a course record in a practice round?
I'm going to say me because I'm the practice round prince. But in a tournament round, I would say Nate. If that's another question, then I'm going to go with Nate.
It's not. That's why I threw it in there. Who's more likely to cry during a movie?
Oh, me. I don't think Nate shows emotion. I cry like a baby in comedies.
Who's got the better backhand on the course?
I would say Nate has the better backhand on the course. I think that he's proven that as of late. Yeah, I would say Nate has a better backhand.
But Jerm's got more power.
Yeah. Again, for consistency, Nate, but we need the big play, Jeremy.
That's a theme.
Yes.
Who would be who would be a better lead role in an action movie?
Oh God. My sister's an actor. My brother-in-law is a producer. I thought that the acting chops would be somewhere in my blood. They are not. I've seen my acting. It is terrible. It's got to be Nate. It's got to be Nate.
Take a polo. Put it on.
Yeah, take a photo.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut for those Jomas fans.
Only the strongest fans, only the best loyal fans will get that one.
Who's more serious on game day?
I would say Nate's more serious. I can get more serious quick, but I think that in general, I think that I try to create an atmosphere of like some kind of like loose, fun practice round atmosphere, because I feel like I play best in that. And I think Nate could just play well in any atmosphere, even if it's serious. So I think that Nate would probably be more serious.
I think with the caveat that neither one of us is all that serious on game day.
Good point.
I'll tell you what, that was actually a lot of fun. Anyone who's listening, get yourself a friend out there that talks about you the way that BigJerm talks about Nate Sexton.
I'm smiling over here. I'm feeling that glow right now.
Well, Nate, you were nice enough to throw out on Instagram about questions for you and BigJerm, and then you were nice enough to put the show account down to make sure that my notifications went off every 4 seconds, and we got hundreds of questions that came pouring in through Instagram and Facebook, and I thought that it would be fun to pick out questions that were asked to both of you guys, since this is kind of the return of BigSexy and you guys are back behind the mic together. So typically we would be asking questions from the fans just for our guests, but I think today we're gonna fire away at both of you guys. So you guys ready?
I'm ready. Let's run it.
There it is. Okay, this comes from Tyler off of Instagram. BigJerm, what is the most annoying thing that Nate does when you do commentary together? And Nate, same question.
So is the question to Nate, what's the most annoying thing that Nate does? Well, Tyler from Instagram, that's a great question. I would say the most annoying thing that Nate does when we do commentary together is, man, you're putting me on the spot. I would say that it's not him. It's not that he's doing it intentionally. I think that sometimes there is more responsibilities on his shoulder than I think we could mix it up a little bit. I think that's more on the production side, that like they're like, hey, Nate's here, so let's give this role to Nate. And sometimes I'm like, hey, I want to do that too. Like, why did you just initially go to him? So that's not on Nate necessarily, but I feel like sometimes like I want to take a bigger, a more active role in all the things. And yeah.
That's very diplomatic. I'm not going to be quite as diplomatic. Mine would be the many, many times that it's been commentaries at 8:30 a.m. And it's like the day before, it's like, oh, are you serious? That this is my German impression. 8:30? Are you serious? And or whatever. and then when it finally when we do settle on a time, then it's like, oh my God, they're taking forever at Chick-fil-A, man. I'll be there as soon as I can. So just kind of a punctuality issue would probably be the most. And to his credit, he's gotten a lot better. But that would probably be, if I had to think of something truly annoying that's not like a big deal exactly, but it's just kind of like, again, it'd just be like delaying the start time or just actually just being late.
Fair. Actually, Tyler, that's a stupid question. I wish you hadn't asked me.
Now look what you did, Tyler. Thanks a lot. We had a great thing going here, but now look.
You're a real Class A jerk.
Well, let's see how you feel about Kevin's question, Jerm, because Kevin asks...
Oh, boy.
Asking the hard-hitting questions today from Mr. BigJerm. How is he coping with his heartbreaking loss to Nate in the recent commentator poll? I feel like he really gained some ground in the Gazelle aficionados demographic, but ultimately, those dozen or so votes weren't enough to see him through. Let me know, and I am prepared to donate millions to his campaign for a recount if necessary.
Well, we are still waiting for those mail-in ballots to come in, so I'm not going to claim a defeat yet. I think that
I like
the
it.
Make Germ Great Again fans and the community out there they're still waiting, and they deserve a response. So I'm not going to accept that I've been defeated, so I don't think it's necessarily a good question to ask me. um, I've got some research on it, some of the best researchers. I've got great researchers on this. I only work with the best researchers, and they all say that I've won by a landslide. So I don't really want to address that question anymore. Thank you.
As close as that vote was, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I did reach out to Rudy Giuliani in the event that I lost.
Sounds like this is going to get interesting.
I think that both of us were blown away at how close it got. I mean, like that was really fun. I was actually playing a tournament while that poll was going on, and like I was checking the results as they updated throughout the round. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a really fun thing to pay attention to.
Playing a tournament,
And,
you were winning. You were winning a tournament.
Not at that time. At that time, I was down by 8 strokes to Nathan Queen.
Okay.
I had some work to do, but the the comment that Nate said to me was so funny. If you don't mind that if I share this, Nate.
Go ahead.
So I was up early, like 51 to 43, I think is what it was early on, and I was like, I mean 57 to 43, excuse me, if that is what I said the first time. Anyways, and I was like, wait a second, what? Okay, I was not expecting this. And Nate was up early because he is up early every day, and his comment was, once the free thinking West wakes up, I'm going. And then he sent the up emoji. So, he said, I'm going up. Once the free thinking West, like just thinking about all the backwards Easterners that were just like, oh, I gotta go for Germ. Like just thinking about yokeling up my entire fan base is just so hilarious. That was so fun though. That was cool to see that that people finally have their heads screwed on straight, and that it was 50-50.
It is cool. It's like it's the perfect place for our careers to start again. You know, after this
Yeah,
long break,
I
now we can
agree.
start on even footing.
I think it was great that it was so close.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If it would have been a landslide, I don't know if I would want to work with them anymore. But
Ooh.
here we are.
Well, I'm happy that Brandon Matthew from Instagram asks, Nate, do you or Germ ever test out new molds, or do you just stick to what you know and like in your bag?
Oh, we for sure test out new molds. There's new stuff coming all the time, and they're going to send us that stuff, and certainly trying it. I wouldn't say that the majority of the new molds make it straight in my bag, but they'll have some redeeming quality that I like about them, and it takes a little while to work them in and trust them. But like, there's discs like the Rat has found its way into my rotation, and that's a little bit newer and one that I had just kind of got as a tester and start throwing, and sometimes they stick.
Yeah, I like Nate said, there's holes in the bag that you don't even know exist sometimes, and when a disc comes out and you realize this actually solves a problem I didn't know I had, it's an exciting thing. And I mean, I'm always eager to see what new things Dave Dunapace has up his sleeve. And he's a brilliant disc designer, and he's responsible for some of the most popular molds in the history of the sport. So he's no slouch at what he does. And when he has something new, it's because it's past his test of greatness. And so it's going to be good for something. So yeah, definitely. I'm always excited to see something new and feel it out and give it a shot.
I know from a fan's point of view, it's a lot like when I was younger and I would buy Michael Jordan basketball shoes, and then I could not dunk from the free throw line. I buy that pig online, and I don't throw it like Ricky. Mine goes 96 feet and dies into the ground. So
yeah, you and about 80% of the people that throw that thing probably could work on improving it. But yeah, that's the fun of it though, right?
And that, I mean, honestly, that's got to be tough to take for a career disc golfer like you, Jarett.
I said starting my career, Nate. Okay, simmer down over there. We all started somewhere. I'm the experienced podcaster here, Nate. I won't be.
I'm not. I'm not out here tooting my podcast chops. I'm not.
um, here's a fun question that came in from David off of Facebook. He said, if either of you could steal another player's shot or skill, like Macbeth's backhand or Eagle's putting, whose would you choose and why?
Well, for me, it's really easy for me. I would just take Eagle's distance. I mean, like, I feel like I can get the job done. Everything else, throwing far is fun. And when I'm playing locally or by myself, I feel like I throw pretty far. And then when I go to tournaments, I start to feel like I can't throw at all because the Eagle and guys like him. So I would just like to throw as hard as him because I think that would be so fun to just be able to reach any par four. I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah, it's enviable without question. Clearly, I think if you watch our stuff on Jomas and you've watched me cover anything that Eagle's done where it's somewhat open, it's just like jaw-dropping what he's able to do, and we're in the top 0.001% of pro disc golfers, and we're just like, I can't even come close to that. So to think that he's got such an advantage on even the top of the top is just like mind-blowing. But I would say that as amazing of a skill that would be to have, and what a weapon that would be, I would take like Calvin Heimberg's fairway driver accuracy with his backhand. It's just the harder he throws, the more accurate he gets, and he just throws these long, low ceiling, just beamers that just go from point A to point B dead straight, maybe a little drift right, maybe a little drift left, but he's so accurate at that shot. I've always envied that. I've always had difficult time throwing the low ceiling backhand driver, and it's something that he's so good at that I'm just like, every time I see it, I just wish that I had like 10% of it.
And what I notice with that is, we've mentioned a couple times, between the two of us, Jerm makes the big plays and I stay consistent. So it's really no surprise that Jerm's asking for consistency and I'm asking for a couple big plays.
Yeah, there you go. Makes sense. Absolutely. Calvin makes it look so easy too. Dude, you just blew Jerm's mind right now.
That's what I try to do. That's the business I'm in.
Are you okay, Jerm? You need a few minutes, or can we keep going here? Because I think he really.
I just had to take a swig of water because I was like my throat just dried up. I was so like the existentialism of what just happened was just altered my state of everything. That was great.
Aiden asked, "What's the best on the road story you guys have from all your travels to tournaments and such? Maybe a bad situation that's funny to look back, or just a favorite moment, something that really sticks out."
Story, a bad situation story.
Well, it can be a great or bad.
Story?
I'm going to go with a bad situation because this question is so hard. I have so many memories and cool stories, but it's hard to be put on the spot and pull one out of the air. But bad situation got me thinking. So this wasn't fun at all, but it is funny looking back on. It was probably 2015, I guess. I'm not sure. It was me and I was touring with Paul Macbeth. We were at a course in California, which actually I saw a petition that it might be getting taken away. So Ryan Ranch, look up that petition and sign that if you want to keep that course around because it's a fun place to play. We were there for a McBeast challenge, and we had his brand new RV that had just been wrapped, and it was like $10,000 or $12,000 that Innova had paid to wrap this thing. And we got permission from the course to stay the night there in the RV after we got done with the tournament. So we had 100 people come out, had a great time. And we did our thing, and then we went to bed, and, we just had the truck and the trailer there, the only ones in the parking lot. So then we got up in the morning. It was kind of like a gray morning, and we're getting the truck hitched up or something and just going around doing all our little checks. Yeah, okay, we're ready to roll with this RV. We're both pretty new to RVing at this point. And it turned out that the morning was so gray that neither one of us noticed the humongous power awning that was still extended off of the RV from the night before. And so we started ripping down the road, and we heard a noise, and we were like, what was that? Yeah, weird. That was loud. and then Paul like made a gasp and like pulled over because he saw like the canvas, well, it's not canvas, but whatever vinyl of that thing like flapping, and it's like hanging off the side. And he thought that, like, he told me he thought the roof of the RV had fallen off because it's a fifth wheel, right? It's not an RV, it's a fifth wheel. So we're in the truck. We're pretty isolated noise wise and vision wise from the trailer. Anyway, it had ripped off on a light pole, and the wrap had been compromised. The brand new expensive wrap had been compromised. And
God.
I remember getting out and running back up the road and dragging the huge mangled awning out of the road because there was like a city bus coming, and it has all these hydraulic components. So the thing is like extended by the force of like a gorilla. No amount of Paul/me strength was going to get this thing folded back up. So, you know, I'm not proud of this, but we just like threw it in a ditch and ran away because we couldn't fit it in the truck. We couldn't fit it in the RV. So whoever cleaned that up, whatever city worker cleaned that up, I'm sorry. It was a bad situation. Okay. It was a really bad situation.
Send the bill to Paul Macbeth
Yeah, it was a bad situation. But we didn't know what to do. You know, we were on the side of the road, and like it was early in the morning, and yeah, we were kind of freaking out because like Innova had just paid for this wrap to be done, and we're like, oh my God, I guess we're idiots. So I didn't know we were idiots, but I guess we are, is how I felt at that time.
So who had to call Innova and give them the see what had happened was conversation?
I think since Paul owned the trailer, a lot of that, and he was driving at the time, I think a lot of that fell to him, thankfully for me.
You are asking right now for maybe one of the most infamous storytellers on tour to pick a story. Like, this is... I can't think of a more difficult thing to narrow down. Like Nate's saying, like you'd have to. I'm gonna pick one. I've got one in mind that I'm gonna say, but like finding a story to talk about, like you'd have to give me, like, if you wanted me to narrow it down, give me like a city, state, and a month, and I'll be like, oh, well, I'll give you a story from there. You know, like this is so hard to pull one out just from the entire database of a million stories. But I'll pick this one because I just told the story the other day, and it's a kind of a rags to riches story, in that it ended up it started off as one of the worst days of my life. Not really. That's just the dramatic way of saying me. It's just a real horrible day. I was in New Jersey for the Skylands National Tour, and I think this was in either 2010 or 2011. It was quite a few years ago. I did not have a car at the time. I was hitching rides from tournament to tournament. And on this particular tournament, I was dropped off by the family I'd stayed with the week before at the BigJerm Open. And I was staying with the tournament director / course designer, Dan Doyle, who at the time was living at his mother's house, who happened to be in the hospital. This was a very old lady who did not have a television set, did not have any sort of entertainment for someone my age. I probably would have been 25 at the time. And this was a Monday. And at the time, a lot of pros would do the thing called Monday Fun Day. And I'm not going to say these players' names, but there was a group of people that I was really, really looking forward to hanging out with that Monday, who had told me that they were all going to go to New York City, which I had never been to at that time. And I was really looking forward to it. So we had made some sort of connections and started correspondence via text, because there wasn't, like, 2010, it's amazing how far things have come in 10 years, but like the communication was more difficult then, and it wasn't like I could just put on Google Maps and find where they were. or like get like a Uber or anything like that. Like you had to do things the old fashioned way, which meant that I needed to get a bus to a train to meet up with them. And then that way we could all meet up and then go do the Monday Fun Day in New York. Well, Monday morning comes around. I'm calling these guys and girls, and no one's picking it up. No one's picking up their phone, and I'm kind of getting pretty bummed out because I told them I was going to call them at the specific time. I made sure not to keep them waiting, like I keep Nate waiting in the commentary booth. So I was going to make sure that I was prompt and that I was ready to go. And mind you, where we were staying was, this is like kind of like your grandpa's story. We were 4 miles up a road from the closest bus stop, and Dan had to go to work early in the morning. So I had to try to figure out how to meet up with them by getting to this bus stop that came at a very specific time that would take me to a train. So there's a lot involved with this. This is very precarious. And if anything goes wrong, my day's ruined. Well, no one's answering the phone. So I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I'm just going to show up and hopefully they're there where we had talked about. So I literally, I'm running down this mountain. And I mean, it's like super steep and it's switchbacks all the way down for about 4 miles. And I get to the bus stop with 15 minutes to spare before it's supposed to show up. And I'm calling for myself and no one's picking up. And somehow I guess I realized that my phone had actually started to run out of batteries. Like maybe I didn't charge it the night before, which is very uncharacteristic. But either way, like my phone's about to die. So I'm starting to get a little worried because now I've got to go back uphill 4 miles. And that's even if I can find the house where I was staying. So I was like really, really hoping I'd get a hold of these guys. Well, nobody picks up their phone and I'm just like getting pretty upset. The bus never shows up. So I can't even get to the train. And so I'm sitting there at the bottom of this hill. Starts raining. To make things even crueler, there's literally a disc golf course that I can see across the street and I don't even have any discs. So I can't even go have a fun round while I'm waiting for nothing to happen. I don't even know what I'm going to do at this point. And so the day is just like awful. It's just a gloomy day. And I'm running out of ideas. And then it hits me like, I'm in New Jersey. What am I doing? Call up the best player in the last 20 years in the Northeast. And who is that?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Steve Brinster, baby.
Steve Brinster. So I call Steve Brinster, and to my luck, Steve Brinster picks up and he says, "Hey man, I'm at work. I can't call. Can I call you back in just a minute?" And I look at my phone. I'm at 1%. I said, "I don't know. Like my phone might die. Like I don't know." And like as I'm saying that, the phone dies. And I'm like, no, he doesn't know where I am. He doesn't know my situation, my predicament, or anything. So I go across the street. I happen to have my wallet. I buy a phone charger and I charge my phone up enough to like, or I don't buy a phone charger. I'm trying to remember. I'm a little blurry on this detail. I think I used the guy that was working's phone charger to charge my phone for like 1% just so I could get so I can get Steve's number. I get his number long enough to use the guy's phone that works there to call Steve. He picks up again and he's like, he has time to talk now. So he's like, "Hey, where are you? What do you need?" And I tell him the whole story and I'm just like, "Dude, can you help me in some way? Like, even if you just picked me up and drove me up the mountain, or if we played disc golf or something, like something to cheer my spirits, because it's been a pretty crappy day." He's like, "I got you, Jerm. Tonight, there's a birdie pot going on at our course." And I cannot believe I don't remember the name of the course, but it's like the sweet course that's in like New York, New Jersey area that he plays all the time. I know it's not called Skylands.
Is it called Warwick?
But Warwick Park. Thank you. Yes, it is called Warwick Park. So he's like, we got birdie pot doubles at Warwick, and the birdie pot hasn't been hit for 2 years. And I was like, "Ooh, what is that? Tell me more." Have you heard of birdie pot before, Nate?
Yes.
Okay, so for the viewers out there who aren't familiar with what it is, birdie pot is where they roll a 20-sided die. until they get 5 random numbers, 1 through 18, and those are the birdie pot holes. If you and your partner birdie these 5 randomly selected holes, and no one else in the field, this is very important, no one else in the field can birdie those holes as well, you'll win the entire birdie pot. And I was like, dude, that sounds amazing. Like Warwick Park, disc golf, Steve Brinster, Northeast, like, dude, that sounds like so much fun. So Steve picks me up and we go to the course and I get randomly selected with I'll be nice and a chucker. Okay, this guy was out there to have a good time. I'll put it that way.
Where are your discs?
Well, we drove back up to Dan's house.
Okay,
we got my discs.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I skipped that part. So we got my discs, went to the park, and I get selected with this guy. And we were playing, and the first hole, he throws a pretty bad drive, and my drive's like 50 feet short. So I'm like, it looks like we're probably gonna be out of the birdie pot. He misses, and I make it. I'm like, oh, cool, we're still in it. Same thing happens for the next 2 or 3 birdie pot holes, where like we both kind of struggle with our drives, but I ended up making a nice long jump putt. So I was kind of thinking, okay, this is kind of amazing what's happening right now. The 4th birdie putt hole, I remember parking it and just feeling like, dude, I am playing so well today. Like this is going to happen. Oh my gosh. And we finally get around to the last birdie putt hole. And
how much money is on the line here?
At this time is about $1 million to me, but
okay,
I think
perfect.
in actual human dollars, it was like $600 or $700.
That's plenty.
So
okay, I'm invested. I am invested here. Tell me more.
It's important to know from the beginning. I should have mentioned that. So we, a lot of money. Okay, because I remember I don't have a tour vehicle. I'm literally going from place to place, and I am like totally at the mercy of like who can help me with what, which was not a good place to be. It just was where I was at that time. I was not making money playing disc golf, and $600 on the line was a pretty big deal. So let's go back to the hole right before the final birdie putt hole. My partner, I don't think he was drunk, but I do remember he fell down a lot, and he had a putt from about 35 feet that he jump putted, and I think he just airballed so hard, and he subsequently, or just like at the same time that the disc was like 3 feet right of the basket, just tripped over a root and just fell down and like looked up. He's like, I guess I missed it. And it was just hilarious. And then, like I was in a really good mood because this guy was really funny. He was fun to play with, and he kept falling, which was funny to me also. So here we are, final hole, birdie putt hole. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, it's the easiest hole in the course. It was 285 feet. And for Warwick, it was a pretty wide open hole. Like it was in the woods, but like not a tight wooded hole. And I think at that time in my career, if you could have put any person in the world, if you could have said, hey, Jeremy, the aliens are going to destroy the planet if you can't put someone on this tee pad and birdie it right now, I would have put myself on the line right there in that spot, because that was like my money distance with just a flick ESP buzz right at the basket and call it a day. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, this is my bread and butter. We just got $600 richer. Score. So my partner throws his tee shot. I'm pretty sure he fell and like just shanked it straight into the ground. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, now there's a little bit of pressure on the line now, because like, I still think that I'm pretty confident with this. So here we go. And then I like sort of shank it. Like I'm like pretty far right, like 45 feet right, which is just not acceptable for me or anyone at this time. So I've already seen what's going to happen in front of my eyes before we even get to the lie. My partner is going to probably miss his putt, and I am going to have to make this putt with everything on the line. Okay, $700, $600. Partner gets up to the putt, and I'm already like my hands are kind of shaking a little bit. He jump putts, and sure enough, dude falls straight on his face, but the disc hits the front rim, jumps up, lands on the rim, weeble wobbles and falls in.
Yes.
And so I just remember throwing my putters up in the air like we had just won the Super Bowl. I chased him. I picked him up off the ground. We were just dancing in the spot, and like just in the middle of the round, you know, everyone's playing disc golf all over the course. I just started screaming, "Birdie putt! Woo!" Just freaking out, man. And it was just.
I'm imagining that famous video where the fan makes the half court shot and LeBron comes and tackles him.
Yes, that's what it was. Dude.
It has to be a lot like that. And also, I just have to say, my God, can you spin a yarn? What a story.
I mean, it was definitely like the best rags to riches day. I mean, that day started off so crummy, and it ended up being so much fun. And we went out and celebrated that night. And Brinster was kind of a little bit pissed because he'd been going out to league for years trying to get the birdie pot. And the first day I come out there, I got it. And so he worked in a deal where if like right before the round started, he's like, if you end up hitting the birdie pot, you got to give me $100 finder's fee. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm not going to get the birdie spot. And then I did. So I gave him $100. So.
Nice.
It was
so after you paid off Brinster and went out and celebrated, you were back to nothing again, right?
Yeah, well, you know, it was worth it for the story. So,
but he had it. But 2 more hats. I mean, 2 more hats isn't nothing.
Yes, full circle.
You know what, Germ? When we're old and retired, memories will be our currency, and you will be
so
rich.
Beautiful. I would be one of the richest men in the world.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
That is awesome. Yeah, I love how you explained it as being basically worth $1 million to you at that point in your life. It reminds me a little bit of the old Lee Trevino quote. You know, that pressure is when you're playing for $5 a hole with $2 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Dang, I never heard that before. I like that.
Yeah, and I imagine he's probably done that a time or two. So yeah, well, I guess the gentleman that asked that question certainly got his money's worth on today's story from BigJerm. That's a fact.
Yes.
So, Germ, let me ask you. We asked Nate. We talked about this a little bit last week with Nate. What are you watching on TV? You binging anything on Netflix?
Yeah, we finished Netflix last week, and
Congratulations.
We're 80% through Hulu and HBO Max, so we're definitely getting through it pretty.
He's seen it. If you've seen it, he's seen it.
Yeah, I actually am one of the few people that has not seen Queen's Gambit yet. Jules has already seen it, so I need to catch up on that. But we're watching His Dark Materials. We are watching. We're watching so many things. It's hard to actually like recall everything because there's so many good things on right now. But yeah. You can bet that if it's a good show on TV right now, I'm there.
All right, so yeah, you're streaming, you're watching things. Hey guys, Netflix. That's get at Jeremy Colling. I mean, he's putting it out there for you right now. You could be a sponsor for them with that. You finished Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, who would know impressive. About Netflix if it weren't for my endorsement? That's what I've always been saying.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's one of those things that's brand awareness is a real problem for Netflix.
Oh, Mandalorian. That's another one that I'm definitely pumped about every week.
Yeah, you got to be there.
Every Friday. This is the way, man.
I've never seen 1 second of it.
Oh. Really? Get in there.
1 second.
What a nerd.
You haven't seen The Karate Kid. Germ, have you ever seen The Karate Kid?
The original or the new remake?
Well, the original, let's start with.
Well, I mean, wax on, wax off with that comment. Why don't you just take it somewhere else?
Yeah, not Nate. Nate's never seen it.
Well, Nate's kind of like the Mr. Miyagi. Like he's more of a wisdom teacher than I'm not surprised to hear that.
I was real surprised.
No, that is surprising. It's disappointing as well, but you can't have everything, I guess.
Well, after COVID, when you guys have your first sleepover, make sure that you rent have mom and dad take you to Blockbuster and get The Karate Kid, and Nate will be able to catch up on it.
I'm there. Let's do it.
And guys, Nate and I would really appreciate it if you guys supported our sponsors, our great friends, Fisher Disc Golf. Check them out on Facebook at the Fisher Disc Golf page for the Mystery Stacks giveaway on Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. FisherDiscGolf.com, code RUNIT10. I think there's still a few of those holiday mystery boxes left. Head over to FisherDiscGolf.com and check these boxes out. They're just jam-packed with goodies. And of course, my buddy Eric and his crew over at Tree Direction Disc Golf doing amazing things for the sport and for the environment. Give them a follow on Instagram, Tree Direction _disc golf. And they're on Facebook at Tree Direction. And coming soon is TreeDirectionDiscGolf.com with some awesome apparel. Guys, thanks for your support of the show. And everybody listening, go ahead and check them out. All right. Well, hey, I think this has been an awesome episode. And Jeremy, it was awesome chatting with you. Nate, how did it feel to have the band back together again?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I knew this was going to be a long episode. You know, my man can talk. I love him for it. The story was incredible. I feel like I was already thinking who's going to be the next guest. I just want to have Germ be on the guest again. But we have to have you back, Germ. It was too fun. Definitely miss working with you, miss hanging out with you, and looking forward to a return to normalcy in 2021.
Dude, it will definitely have to happen again soon. I really appreciate having me on the show and having the laughs, and you know, anyone that's got through the whole episode deserves a gold star. I know that I can ramble on a bit, but at least you got to hear Nate tell some good stories too. So no, it was a lot of fun, and I really do appreciate it. And gosh, I really hope that things kind of level themselves out in this upcoming year. I'd like to work again with you in the booth, man.
Let's do it. Tune in next week for when I tell another story about crashing Paul's RV.
Don't worry, Jerem. I'm keeping them warmed up and fresh behind the mic, so you guys can get back to doing what you're doing. Anything that you wanna plug? What are your social medias, websites? Anything that the fans can follow to know what's going on in your life?
You know, I just think that if anybody if they want to follow me on Instagram, that's basically my main social media platform now. You go follow me on Instagram at BigJermDG. And I have a fun stamp right now at Another Round Disc Golf Shop, one of the local disc golf, well, actually the local disc golf shop here in Charlotte. We did a run, just a silly little stamp called the Jingle Germ, where I'm dressed up like Santa Claus throwing a sidearm present to who knows who. And but it's a fun thing that we did a little collaboration with Infinite Discs. So if you want a fun holiday themed disc from Infinite Discs and to support me a little bit, go to Another Round Disc Golf and check them out. It's a great disc golf shop. Some of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life. They're just awesome business people. They really have the community's best interests in their hearts, and they're doing good things for the local area down here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So check out Another Round, and yeah, that's about it for me.
Awesome, man. Well, again, it was awesome having you on here, and like Nate said, I can't wait to have you back on again. So, you want to come over and play with us again sometime, Germ?
Yeah, I would love to, man. That'd be great.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, until next time, I'm Jarett, or he's Nate Sexton, and remember, when everybody else is laying it up,
We're running it, baby.